Hello. In this week's Torah portion, Bereshit, God says, quote, "And the Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make for him a helpmate opposite him. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." Unquote. So, women were created to help men, and they do. But do men help women? Or, as the feminists of the 60s put it, does a woman need a man like a fish needs a bicycle? The needs of the man are made clear: avoid loneliness, get help, get someone to cleave to. But the needs and wishes of the woman are not stated here. Several observations attest to the fact that men need women in particular. First, the problem is not merely loneliness. Adam was not alone. He had animals and plants and gods. If alone means not with someone like him, why not create another man? If alone means incomplete, why not create a single, perfect, complete individual who reproduces asexually? In asexual reproduction, a cell divides to produce two cells identical to the original cell. Sexual reproduction promotes diversity. But why would God want diversity if Adam is created perfect? Does a woman complete a man? How can God create something that he deems not good? To make Adam appreciate what he lacked after he got Eve? Isn't God himself alone? He is one. The Midrash answers, it is not good means that if God is alone and man is alone, all the creatures will say that Adam is also a God. Our sources are full of statements on the worth of women to men. The Talmud says, first, to be happy, a man has to be married. Quote, Rabbi Yaakov taught, any man who does not have a wife lives without goodness, without help, without happiness, without blessing, and without atonement. Rabbi Shimon said in the name of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, even without peace. Rabbi Hiya bar Gamdi said, he is not even a whole human being. And there are those who say he even diminishes the divine image. Rav Nachman said in the name of Shmuel, even if a man has several children from previous wives, thus fulfilling his obligation to procreate, it is prohibited for him to remain without a wife. Unquote. Note that there is no parallel quote about a woman who has no husband. The closest is, quote, Resh Lakish says that women have a saying, it is better to sit as two bodies, that is to be married, than to sit alone like a widow. This indicates a preference, not a need. Second, the commandment to reproduce applies only to men, not to women. Why? Because the Torah says, quote, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, unquote. The Mishnah explains that it is the way of women to subdue, but it is the way of men to subdue, but not the way of women. Possibly, this reflects the fact that most women want to be mothers, and the Torah usually does not command anything that most people would do on their own accord. Third, the Midrash clarifies the meaning of the woman being a helpmate opposite the man. Quote, Rabbi Yehuda said, if he is worthy, she will be a helpmate. If he is not worthy, she'll be against him, to fight him. The Netziv from 19th century Poland explains that she will restrain him and steer him in the right direction if he's not worthy. So, are women the conscience of men? Commentators note that some women may not feel they are all right. Rashi in Yefet Torah from 16th century Constantinople translates, if he is fortunate, she will be a helpmate. Eitz Yosef interprets she will fight him as she will be cantankerous and oppose him in everything. This story concludes that everything depends on the woman. From the Midrash, quote, it once happened that a righteous man was married to a righteous woman, and they did not produce children. They said, we are of no use to the Holy One, blessed be he. So they divorced each other. The man went and married a wicked woman, and she made him wicked. The woman went and married a wicked man, and she made him righteous. This proves that everything depends on the woman. Shehakol min ha'isha, unquote. Fourth, tradition has it that the men accepted the Torah because the women told them to. Quote, Rabbi Pinchas says, on the eve of Shabbat, the Israelites stood at Mount Sinai, men and women apart. God said to Moses, go, speak to the daughters of Israel and ask them whether they wish to receive the Torah. Why would the women ask first? Because it is the way of men to follow the opinions of women. And the men said, all that the Lord has spoken, we will do and we will listen. Na'aseh v'nishma. Rabbi Tahlifa of Caesarea said, the Holy One, blessed be he, said, when I created the worlds, I only commanded Adam. Eve too was commanded, and the result was that she transgressed and upset the worlds. Now, if I do not call on the women first, they will nullify the Torah, unquote. This means if the women go second, they will be inclined to think the commandments are only for men and be lax about their observance, and their husbands will follow them. The Zohar defines helpmate as basis. Ma'ezri semech. What is a helper? A basis. Sforno from 16th century Italy explains opposite him as follows, quote, a helpmate is someone who will be equal to him, who also reflects the divine image. This is essential for him if he is to know precisely what his needs are, and so he can meet them in time. The reason why the Torah added the word kenegdo, opposite him, is that whenever one confronts someone of equal power, moral and ethical weight, such a confrontation is termed neged. It is a head-on collision of wills. When the two parties disagreeing are not of equal power, moral and ethical weight, then one prevails and the other loses. However, the Torah did not mean for women to be 100% equal to men. That is, she carries children and raises them. So the letter kaf, meaning like, at the beginning of the word kenegdo, somewhat tones down this equality, unquote. Tradition seems to imply that women do not need men for other than procreation, but that men, however, do need women. Unmarried men, considered holy in many religions, are considered sinners in Judaism. Finally, let us pose a question for future discussion. Is tradition assigning different basic roles and obligations to men and women necessarily a bad thing? To conclude, men and women are complementary, but they have different roles and needs. The Torah says, quote, and God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Tradition seems to imply that women do not need men except for procreation. Men, however, do need women. Shabbat Shalom.